with the Fort Worth Public Library, and you're watching Off the Record. And tonight we've got Simon Flory.
2, 3, 4. Yeah. It won't take no truck, no. It won't take no semi-truck. It won't take no Peter Mac built a semi-truck, no, to haul these blues away. It won't take no train, no. It won't take no freight train. It won't take no 5-mile-long twin-engine freight train to haul these blues away. All these blues away. All these blues away. All I need is little old you standing next to me to haul these blues away. It won't take no song. It won't take no Hank Williams song. It won't take no I'm so lonesome I could cry to haul these blues away. All these blues away. All these blues away. All I need is little old you standing next to me to haul these blues away. It won't take no bottle. It won't take no whiskey bottle. It won't take no Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Elijah Craig, and Pappy Van Winkle was a wild turkey bottle to haul these blues away. All these blues away. All these blues away. All I need is little old you standing next to me to haul these blues away. All these blues away.
So we're here with Simon Flory, who just finished doing Peter Mac Built a Semi-Truck. So thank you for doing that. That was a wonderful performance.
Thank you for having us, Rita.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your music, your genre, if you'd like to introduce yourself to people who may not know who you are.
Yes, well, I'm missing one. I just got done playing with Morris Holdall, who is a great guitar player, who is playing and singing on the record and on that song, Peter Mac Built a Semi-Truck. Of course, just like anybody else, I'm going to say the genre is not exactly definable, right?
Yeah.
But we do have an undefinable genre. It's this collection, this place in this Dust Bunny genre that we have, and it's called Americana music.
Yes.
Okay, and what that means is we might have a tune that somebody might describe as like a '70s like country-ish song, and then the next one might be more like a singer-songwriter tune. And then we have some full ahead, straight up bluegrass on this record. We also have some old style country kind of stuff. A little bit of everything, but it's all, I would call it more like the story of our musical relationship. Okay. Morris and I and Clay Parker, who was the producer on this record and also played and sang on it as well.
Amazing. So where do you get your inspiration from? Are there specific musicians that you like to call to, or even those that you might know who've kind of inspired you over the years?
Yeah, Rita, I think I've been asked this question enough times to have an answer prepared, but you know I don't. And it's not for any reason. There's, it's, for me, first is I'm a writer, and so it's a life lived. I am living, right? Mm-hmm. And this is observations. It's people I meet, people around me, the situations that I'm in, stories that I hear. It's truly and honestly, if we want to have a genre, if I could pick my genre, which I can't, it would just be folk music.
I think a lot of our musicians have talked about, like, they're not just in one box. It's really hard to put a musician in a box and just be like, you are this one genre and that's what you're going to be, because there's so many inspirations that people have, and just the sounds around you, your locations, the people around you will influence, you know, how you're playing, or even just the musicians that you play with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, for instance, when I was mentioning the personnel on the record, as they say, that's it. Me, Morris, and Clay. But it's a full band record in a way that others aren't. These aren't just musicians playing along. This is actually a really deep-seated feeling in each of these tunes. And also, you know, we're talking about those genres not being definable. Yeah. We're also talking about what y'all want, which is local musicians who are reflecting what we're seeing around us in our environment here in Fort Worth and where we, you know, travel out to.
How much has Fort Worth influenced your sound or your writing?
I mean, this record doesn't exist without it.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I moved here 5 years ago from Austin, and immediately I met Morris. Yeah. You know, I was just coming out of a band breakup that was real. You know, we had a little record deal on Music Row in Nashville. We got to tour over in Europe and do things like that, and it was great, and I got to do it full time. But when that started to dissolve, right, the sugar coating kind of wears off like Christmas candy. I mean, I met Clay right after meeting Morris, and everything just, we started writing these songs on the road at each of our shows, practicing them at, you know, our sound checks. And then eventually we had a tour that went through Louisiana, where Clay's from, and he said, well, come on by, maybe we'll stick a couple of songs on the tape machine. And it truly is a 1930s sugar shack that they moved out in the end of the bayou over there in Burnside, Louisiana. And just reel to reel, you know, no computers or anything. Yeah. And so this is truly a actual record of what we sound like at that time. It's
so interesting that you say the reel to reel, because I think there are a lot of people who are recording with that now. I know some people who've always recorded their music with that, and they're just like, some of them say, this is the only way I know how. This is why they've stuck with it for so long. And some people are just like, no, I love this new technology and the way that I can just do things so quickly. But I feel like there's just this authentic sort of sound. It's a different sound when it's...
Where you get stuck in that Dust Bunny corner as well is that a lot of times the talent is the person running the tape machine.
Yes. Okay. You have to know how to do that.
Yes, it's very important. So it's one of those things where you asked if my entire musical identity could be boiled down to some influences. No, but we get very, very specific when we're making a record.
Right.
So for instance, this is directly inspired by Elementary Watson by Doc and Merle Watson. You know, that's the thing we're looking at, like this, let's make that record. Not at all, right? We didn't do it at all. We didn't even intend to. But that quality, the sound, the tones, the feel, like the color of the paint on the walls in the studio. Right. You want to be able to hear that, and you're going to hear some wood paneling in this record.
Amazing. I love that description. That's very like, you can it's like a description you can grasp. That's what I call you can definitely feel that. So this is not your first time rocking in the library. First of all, what's it like for you to be playing in the library?
Well, you mentioned it. I mean, it's like coming home. First of all, I live about 20 houses down that way. So thank you so much for meeting me here at my my local branch, and you were here too for years, right?
Yes, this was my first location. This is where I started 10 years ago. Started 2012, and this was my first branch. I was the children's librarian here. I got moved to another location for multiple years, and now I'm doing the music stuff.
That's excellent. And that was about 10 years ago that you hired me and my old band with Gene Davis, the K-Pastas, to come up to Fort Worth and play in the libraries.
Yes, I won't say that I hired you guys. That was our big downtown kind of like, hey, we're sending this great group to you guys. But I'll take it, because I don't think those people are here anymore anyway, so I'll just take that. I did it.
But yeah, no, I've played in libraries all over the United States.
Yeah.
I loved it. It's always warm, welcoming. I'm surrounded by my favorite things, which are words and other people who like words. And I don't know, the attention to detail that people have just for a minute, because they come here to listen and to learn. And that's a little bit of what I want people to take away from hearing my music. You know.
So a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to say weirded out by the fact that there's music in the library, but do you ever have to tell people, like, has anybody ever been like, oh, you're performing in a library, like music in the library? Like,
yes, like
no.
It's okay. It's okay, because you know, it's a community meeting place.
Yes.
This isn't just a be quiet place. I mean, look at the, you know, just the technology and the things we have in the library now.
Right.
It's more than just books. It's more than books and CDs or DVD. It's much more than the Dewey Decimal System these days, you know. So I think, I don't know, I think since the library has shown us what it is to be that community place, that malleable, like we aren't just that old-timey library thing. I think people are starting to warm up to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the programming, that says it all. I mean, the Fort Worth programming, I've always been amazed about, like, how much stuff y'all have going on. I miss more than I can make it to. I apologize.
And that is okay. We try to have it out. We try to have a big schedule of just a variety of things for adults, for children, for teens, for everybody. Because, you know, everybody has busy schedules, busy lives. So we try to make that when you can come out. So, but you came out for this, and we really appreciate that.
We really appreciate it. You've given us, really honestly, public space that isn't driven by budget, isn't driven by my own marketing skills, which are very weak. But today's music business is very much so, it focuses on the individual doing everything.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting ride to be on, but at the same time, I really enjoy making records and just sharing the music with people. So thank you for giving us the space to do that.
Absolutely. That's kind of our target with Amplify. And we look at it as a music business. I think a lot of people know music as entertainment, and they forget the business aspect of it. And that's something, you know, we love to cater to our audience and our, you know, everybody who's listening to Amplify and putting out our local artists out there, but also supporting you guys. That's a big part of what we want, which in whatever way we can. So how did you hear about Amplify?
Friends, everybody. I mean, once Amplify hit, everybody was calling each other, texting each other. Can you believe it? The library, what they're doing? You know, you got to sign up. You got to sign up. So people like Summer Dean, or who I'm very close friends with and have co-written with and written for her, or Tommy Luke. We just played a show with him the other day. All kinds of people were just. It was the buzz around town. So. And plus, I like to keep up with the library news.
And what we're doing, yes. So we're definitely expanding Amplify and what we're doing and music programming in the library. So we're excited about that. I know we were talking a little bit about the banjo. You play the banjo.
Yes,
Do you want to talk a little bit about the banjo and how it's not as easy to play as we thought it was?
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of people think of it as an old-timey instrument, and the way that I play it, particularly on the song "The More You Talk, the Less I Hear," I do play in an old, very antiquated style called clawhammer style, or frailing style of banjo, and this would be like pre-1940s style banjo, where you don't pick up like this. I'm using my one long fingernail. That if I break this fingernail, I gotta go see my gal over down the street in Haltom City and get a nice, shiny, sparkly gold one put on. But yeah, the banjo's instrument, as an instrument, is also, it's kind of having a little bit of a heyday recently. A lot of people are realizing that it is not just a strictly Southern American, like Scots, Irish, Appalachian sound. That instrument. It actually is brought over. It's very akin to some instruments that are from Africa.
Yes.
And so it's really had this renaissance recently where people are getting more into the original banjo, which would be more like a gourd banjo, and you're getting more into like the original like real, instead of a drum head like mine that looks like a metal, everything's a drum. You're gonna have something more natural, like a
almost like not a found object sort of thing, but
they can
like
look
the
like
natural,
it.
Yes, absolutely.
And actually, I have one that is super old, and when it broke in half, I had to get an actual piece of cow skin and soak it in the bathtub all day.
Oh my gosh.
And strap it to this banjo, and it sounds really neat.
The fact that you did it yourself, though, my first instinct would have been like, I have to take this to somebody, and if they can't fix it, then it's gone, and I will hold a little funeral.
Who's gonna strap my piece of cow on my... Sure, I agree. But really I think overall in terms of the banjo as an instrument, I just think it's just as versatile as most instruments, and that it can be utilized that way. For me, it just has a very deep-seated place in my just musical background. As one of the first instruments I would have heard as a kid, with my folks playing a lot of bluegrass and old-time music, and especially like Southern gospel around the house, a lot of that stuff, just lots of banjo.
Did you ever have a rebellious sort of thing where if you grew up with that kind of sound, you were just like, no, I'm not going to listen
Rita,
to that?
I burnt my first guitar, like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I learned Little Brown Jug, and then I saw the Woodstock movie, and
you're just like, that's it.
Yeah, I got to smash this thing to pieces. That's how you really play guitar.
Yeah.
I'd like to have that guitar back, actually, but, in a talk with my 10-year-old self. Yeah. But of course, no, I'm not the kid that grew up on the porch picking banjo and just kept going till today. No, I mean, like any other teenage kid, pre-internet. So my fads were longer, right? So growing up in 80s and 90s, it was more like somebody would, you'd hear a song, you'd hear, mixtape, etc. Yeah. And then there'd always be this little mail order thing inside of the cassette tape. And we always worked. I grew up in a farm town. And we always had $10 around because we were always working, even as a kid. And so we would truly just fill it out, give my mom $10. She'd let me write the check. And I'd get, everything from punk rock to disco. Yeah. And I was just loving it, until I reconnected with bluegrass and country music in my, the rebellion was really not that long, I guess, but in my teenage years, and it said something to me those other genres didn't.
Yeah.
And granted, I listened to all kinds of music.
Right.
Everything from Ornette Coleman, who grew up down the street, to, Townes Van Zandt and Bob Wills, all these great Fort Worth artists with all these genres and all this like musical stew that happens in our city.
Yeah.
But this is how I speak musically. It's not with intention.
Right.
Like I don't try to write, I'm gonna write a country song,
It's sort of a funnel of things. Literally. You have all this inspiration and this is how it kind of comes out.
That's it. Yeah. Hopefully that's what it sounds like, because that's what's happening.
I feel like a lot of people kind of go through that track where they're inspired by, or they hear their family's music, and then they're kind of like, I'm not going to listen to that.
Right.
I think that was, I had something similar where, I grew up listening to a lot of like Mexican music, like Tejano Conjunto, and as a kid I was just like, that's just what my parents listen to. I want to listen to like punk rock and all that kind of stuff. I still love that, but now I have more of an appreciation for what I was listening to, and I love it, and it just has a soft spot in my heart.
Tejano or Conjunto band that I should be listening to right now?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not keeping up with it. I'm gonna throw this out because it's always an Easter egg, but Selena. Just always Selena forever. Yeah.
I 1,000% agree with that. Yeah. Always Selena. I'm often over here on the Sylvania, the Carniceria, the Superior.
Yes.
And I'm in there with my phone up to the speaker because they have some jams in there.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody's dancing in the aisles. It's a very fun place.
But like, I
highly
know
recommend.
when I hear like Ramon Ayala or even like Los Tigres del Norte or like Grupo Más, like those to me are like from my hometown. Bobby Pulito was another one too. So those are artists. Granted, I don't think they're, well, some of them are still doing some stuff and some of them aren't. But
I know two of them. Two of those. Yeah, they did.
Somebody sent me, they're just like, hey, so-and-so released, I think it was Tigres del Norte, like they released their album on vinyl, which was just kind of crazy to me.
That's cool.
Because most, you know, that kind of genre still sticks with CD.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just easier to put out or less expensive to put out, possibly.
Also the audience.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, yeah, you know, my crowd, I have both. I still get CDs as well, because if you're out on the road, people, they might not have record players, but also they, you know, CD players in cars and things like that.
Yeah.
And I put out cassettes too because of demand. People wanted. You know, hey,
and it really, and that's
cassettes.
what people, I think a lot of, especially new artists are coming out and they're just like, well, you know, I don't have the money to press it, you know, record. And it's like, well, do you need to press that now, or can you just do sort of like digital downloads as a start?
Yes, absolutely.
And kind of Bandcamp Fridays, always support on Bandcamp Friday.
Yes, thanks for the shout out. You can do that on mine as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the big difference is if you are making a digital recording, it sounds best on a digital medium.
Yes.
You know, so this is an analog recording on an analog medium. Yes. It's just honestly that simple.
I tell people that all the time, and they're just kind of like, "What?" And I was just like, "Well, yeah, just."
Well, what that means for, like, for instance, for this record, it doesn't matter if it was saved into a computer or not. This one wasn't. And I don't like to look at music as a graph on a computer screen, and so, you know, when we're making this and we listen back to it, did that sound good? That's it. Did was the feel there? Was the performance there?
Yeah.
Did you hear what you did in that spot? Yeah, and that, in the equation, that didn't mess the song up. That's fine.
Yeah.
It might be a gem that we love over time, right? And so that tape literally, physically gets sent to the mastering studio, and then that same thing gets put onto another piece of tape that then goes down and gets put onto this record.
Yeah.
And so it never lives on a computer. It doesn't live on a thumb drive. And that does change the quality. That's it. It just changes the in quality. And I don't mean like good or bad, but I mean just what it is.
Yeah, just the sound of it.
And so this sounds very different to the one you're going to hear even online. And that is because, and truly, it went from analog and it got stuck on a digital thing, and it sounds really different to me. Good, and the songs are there, but this is like a warm hug.
I was gonna say, I want to be like an audiophile now and go home and listen to this on my record player, and then go and listen to the album on Amplify and be like, I'm gonna compare now.
And what you'd be hearing is different mixing situations and mastering situations. So when that happens, the actual record diverges. I mean, it goes off to this whole other place where these guys that have ears for records are doing all this. And for me, that's Adam Gonzalez up in Portland, Oregon. And then he sends it down to California where it gets pressed. And then back over here, pressed its first pressing. Yeah. And it's called plate. And so there's a master record. And then that gets sent to over in Dallas at Hand Drawn Pressing. And that's who did this. Yeah. Which is lovely. Yeah. And then somewhere along the way, we got all this cool artwork. If you.
I really love this. I know like we can't zoom in, but yeah.
Right. Well, the neat thing about it is it's pure collaboration. And by that I mean the artist, who is the overall layout artist, and the artist with all of these and the title, Taylor Rushing, who's a great artist who works with everybody from Willie Nelson to, I mean, he's working with everybody right now. He's lovely. He's a good close friend from back in Austin days. And I met this young lady here named Penny Halcyon. And I really, really was drawn to her photography. She was a local Fort Worth photographer. And I asked her, would you listen to my record and see if you maybe have 10 different images that would represent each of the songs on the front. Okay, so it's a little bit of a puzzle, and it's supposed to be a little bit interactive, which is basically you're finding the one that tells the story of the song
Wow.
But it's not me, because I'm not that artist. She is.
Yeah.
And so is he. And so what he did is then he put those songs inside of these different features, most clouds, and that's what's bringing the rain.
So it's not just musically collaborative, even just the
Absolutely, yeah.
artwork on this
Right.
is very collaborative. I love that.
I don't know, honestly
Yeah.
don't know how else to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
tried before.
Yeah.
Which I think involves something not like the spirit of the library, right? This is way more like a library. This is collaborative.
Yeah.
I want it to be free and open, beyond the, like, it's not jammy, the songs are still there, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's just really, it's the artistic vision. It's like, hey, who can we,
Yeah.
see if we can wrangle with these ideas, and if it speaks to you, then
Yeah.
let's all speak together, because more voices will be louder.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that quote. Well, is there anything else that we've missed that you'd like to talk about, or shout outs that you want to give to any friends that you have in the area? Mention anybody you feel like our viewers should definitely give a listen to.
Oh, I mean, goodness gracious. If you're talking about local, especially local musicians that I've recently been listening to, going to shows, things like that. I mean, absolutely. I already mentioned her once, but Summer Dean, her new record is great. Full disclosure, I wrote the title track.
No.
So I think that song is great. No, she is absolutely lovely, and she is recording a new record right now.
Yes.
That is so, I'm so anticipating that record. So anytime you could get a chance. I know also Izzy is recording a record right now with Sarah Shook and the Disarmers, and that is going to be amazing. I'm excited about that. Of course, Keegan McEnroe, I think he actually just recorded a new record as well. Morris just played on that record with Keegan. I'm really excited about that. A lot of people that we all know and love.
Yeah.
I would say, though, just because we know and love those people, we even see that they're playing out and about. The world is different in 2022.
Yes.
And we're not finding that solace, we're not finding that escape, we're not finding that community as much out at live music venues.
Yeah.
And while we all have to adapt and change, just like we did throughout the whole pandemic and the shutdown and everything ongoing, really,
Yeah.
I will say that nearly every single venue is accommodating, safe, especially in Fort Worth. I've had no problems with people just being unsafe or, in a way, forceful that way. Some of our venues have moved away from our downtown center, but that doesn't mean we should stop supporting them. So
Absolutely.
people like our friends at Magnolia Motor Lounge, they're now out on the west side of the Benbrook Traffic Circle, or Lola's moving from West 7th going over down to
New
Barry.
Lola's is fantastic, though.
Yeah, and it's lovely,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And of course, Tulips, who has like the bigger, more regional, national acts, they support with local artists as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. I
There
just
is.
would implore everyone to, just like you should visit your local library branch, you should definitely support local musicians through really putting your body in the door.
Yes.
And this is actually a news flash. Live music is still exhilarating.
It is.
And it is still, I mean, truly, honestly, it doesn't just feed me, but I will say, I mean, it's given me more than I could ever eat in my life. I mean, I'm just like, I'm just so thankful and grateful to the Fort Worth music community, and which y'all are now just a
we're
huge
part of. Who would have thought?
Yes.
The library part of the Fort Worth local music scene. But
So thank you. Thanks for having us today and everything. It was
Absolutely. Thank you for doing this for us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And that's it. And we're going to go ahead and listen to you do a couple more songs for us. So
Oh,
thank you so much for
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk, even though you're not listening. And I won't stop, 'cause I don't know how. Gonna stand right here like a P.O. box. Quit chasing clouds. And I'm gonna go to Kentucky. Get drunk Rust on the fenders, holes in the floorboards, sitting between Papa and Ma, shifting gears and learning how to talk. You gotta wake up before school, chop holes in the ice when it froze through. The electric fence is a metronome, keeping time to my mule at home. Billy's got a map to where the ditchweed grows. We're gonna mow it all down and be rich by tomorrow. There's an accident up at the mill. Some work forever and some never will. Rust on the fenders, holes in the floorboards, sitting between Papa and Ma, shifting gears and learning how to talk. I've seen a man beg on his knees, and on a still day I see him looking back at me. Don't hate the ones who take life from you. The wind will kick up and you'll be gone for good. I don't want whiskey off the top shelf. I want an unbroke heart and nothing else. And there's a telltale sign that I won't win. I'm gonna talk even though you're not listening. Rust on the fenders, holes in the floorboards, sitting between Papa and Ma, shifting gears and learning how to talk. We were shifting gears and learning how to talk. I go to work in the morning and you stay in bed. I work them fingers to the bone and come home half dead. And it's cold beer for supper. What you wanna do? Fight on the front porch under an Ozark moon. The more you talk, the less I hear. The more you talk, the less I hear. You tell me that you're leaving, you holler that you're gone. You scream there ain't no picket fence could keep you at home. There's just one too many of us in this single wide talk, the less I hear. This morning and you were really gone. I guess I didn't hear you sing that same leading song. Now the neighbors are talking and I bet your mama's proud. Won't shed a tear when the auctioneer throws the gavel down. The more you talk, the less I hear. The more you talk, the less I hear. Now day and night it's dark in this city where I sing. This half-barbaric twang, it comes from my banjo strings. There's no one here but me, so I fight with myself. And I miss you like the devil misses you down in hell. The more you talk, I hear. The more you talk, the less I hear. The more you talk, the less I hear. Yeah.
Off the Record is produced by the Fort Worth Public Library in support of our dynamic Fort Worth arts and cultural community. Amplify 817 is made possible in part through the financial support of the Fort Worth Public Library Foundation and community support of Here Fort Worth.